In recent weeks, we've also reported extensively on India's treatment protocols and how outdated India's approach has been. First, we told you about how overrated plasma therapy is, and this week India dropped blood plasma from its treatment protocols. We also reported on how ineffective drugs like HCQ and ivermectin are still in use in India. And many of you wrote to us asking about Remdesivir. Does it work at all? Is it useless and overhyped? Does every patient need Remdesivir? We spoke to many doctors and experts. We consulted multiple studies, and tonight we'll share some of the answers with you. But before we do that, I want to show you some reports. This one, the first one, came out 4 days ago. More than 100 patients were given fake Remdesivir injections in the Indian state of Madhya Pradesh. Fake Remdesivir. More than 90% of them survived. These injections were supplied by a criminal gang. But the fact that these people survived shows that they probably never needed Remdesivir after all. Then we have this report. The chairperson of one of India's top hospitals says Remdesivir does not help. Speaking to a news agency today, the chairperson of Gangaram Hospital said that just like blood plasma, Remdesivir could be dropped from India's treatment protocols. In fact, there are a lot of similarities between blood plasma and Remdesivir. Both emerged as the go-to treatment options at the beginning of this pandemic. Both are being widely prescribed by doctors, and both have been widely studied and debated. So is Remdesivir an ineffective cure just like blood plasma? The jury is still out on this one. There is conflicting evidence on Remdesivir. Just like almost all drugs for the treatment of the Wuhan virus, Remdesivir has been repurposed. This drug is made by America's Gilead Sciences. It was originally developed to treat hepatitis C. Then scientists tested it in the treatment for Ebola, but the drug did not really perform well, so its use never really took off. Then the Wuhan virus came around, and Remdesivir received some high-level endorsements, like the one from America's top infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci. In April last year, Dr. Fauci said that Remdesivir sets a new standard of care for Wuhan virus patients. A few months down the line, the World Health Organization conducted its own trial. Guess what they found? Remdesivir had, quote-unquote, little or no effect on patient mortality, which means it can do little to prevent death. In fact, the WHO had the same assessment for a host of drugs like HCQ, lopinavir, and ritonavir. Listen to this.
The interim results from the Solidarity Therapeutics trial, coordinated by the World Health Organization, indicate that remdesivir, hydroxychloroquine, lopinavir, ritonavir, and interferon regimens appear to have little or no effect on 28-day mortality or the in-hospital course of COVID-19 among hospitalized patients.
So who is right? Dr. Fauci or the WHO? The answer is neither. Doctors are using Remdesivir for entirely different purposes. They use it not to kill the virus, but to stop it from spreading any further in the human body. A study published in The Lancet last year looked into the use of Remdesivir in Wuhan virus patients with hypertension. It says this drug is effective, but it works only if it is given within 10 days of the infection. And not everyone needs Remdesivir. It is given to patients who need oxygen, those who have developed a pneumonia in their lungs but do not need a ventilator. So Remdesivir does not help those who are asymptomatic. It doesn't help the patients who have mild symptoms. It also doesn't help patients who are very serious. It only works, if at all, for moderately ill patients. But just like the case of blood plasma, doctors are prescribing it widely. Remdesivir is being given to those who may not even need it, because even doctors are under a lot of pressure. They want to try everything possible to save a patient, everything available. And the result is this. There's a sudden shortage of Remdesivir, a shortage that has spawned a black market in India. This drug used to retail in India for not more than 3,500 rupees. That's around $50 for a single vial. But towards the end of April, one vial of Remdesivir was being sold for 10 times this price in the black market. And desperate families were shelling out as much as 30,000 rupees for one injection. 30,000 rupees, that's more than $400. How many shots does a patient need? 6 in most cases, which means if you do the math, you will need 180,000 rupees for the entire course, almost $2,500. That's also, by the way, how much this drug, Remdesivir, costs in America. A 5-day course of the treatment is for $2,600. So the black marketing is bad enough. The shortage is aggravating India's suffering. But the question still remains, do we even need this drug? Can India afford to keep using Remdesivir, or can it do without it? We asked this question to Dr. Julian Tang. He's a clinical virologist at the University of Leicester, and he believes that since the window to administer this drug is so short, and patients are still struggling to find hospital beds and oxygen, Remdesivir may not prove to be as effective.
Remdesivir, I think if you give it early in those who are severely ill, then you can stop that virus replication, but you need that immune system clearance to clear the virus. And the problem is that when you have patients queuing to get into hospital who may have been ill for like 5, 7, 10 days, the benefits of Remdesivir, even on oxygen support, may be very minimal.
So will India drop Remdesivir from its treatment protocols? It looks unlikely at the moment. Earlier today, we spoke to Dr. Navneet Vig. He's the chairman of India's COVID task force. And he says just 7 to 8 patients out of a sample of 100 need Remdesivir in India. So just 7 to 8% of India's patients need it.
All mild patients are treated without Remdesivir, or all patients who are after 10 days of illness are treated without Remdesivir. All patients on mechanical ventilation are treated without Remdesivir. It is only this specific group of patient who worsens, saturation falls, and in first 10 day of illness is hospitalized, requiring low flow oxygen is the indication for Remdesivir. And then if you see out of 100, only 7-8 patients will require it. So this is that is the minimal amount. But what has happened is patients' relative force and doctors are forced, and sometimes they think it is a magic bullet. It is not a magic bullet.
You heard that. It is not a magic bullet. Don't force doctors. And we still don't have any drug that specifically works for this virus. Medical science is yet to make any advances in finding a good antiviral drug. And until that happens, doctors have to use what they've got. So Remdesivir is not a magic bullet. It has a limited impact and only on a few patients. What does it tell you? Doctors must be judicious in its use, and patients should not push for this therapy unless they absolutely need it. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.